the life of a coach. That's why my hair is gray. I'm really 47.
Hey, I got the senior discount.
It's been 34 years of this stuff. So tell me when we're ready. Everybody in the back ready?
Yes, sir.
Got it? I'm excited about playing in the ACC championship game. It's only the second time since they started in 2012 that Carolina is playing in this game. And last time was Gene Chizik and Charlton Warren in 2015, and they had a great game with Clemson, and we're sure looking forward to this weekend. It's cool for our team to be the last coastal champion, because it'll never happen again. Divisions will be gone. People have asked me about it. I would have rather kept divisions even if they changed the teams up, because I like having a division championship, and I also like the fact that you're less likely to play somebody twice if you've got divisions. If you just have a league like it went to in the Big 12, then like TCU and Kansas State playing each other in a repeat game this weekend, it always was more fun and more challenging, I thought, to play somebody you hadn't played before. So, but that will not be the case. Most likely, there's a better chance that you will have played who you're going to play again in the conference championship game starting next year. But the guys have earned their way into this game. Very proud of them. The fact that they have won 9 games, and it's only the second time since I was here before that Carolina's won 9 games is really cool. Proud of those kids. They had to go through 6 road games to get there after losing 6 road games last year, so they've overcome a lot. And it's a huge game with a chance to go to the Orange Bowl. And we'd never been to the Orange Bowl before. We were in the Orange Bowl 2 years ago, and obviously have a huge task this weekend with Clemson, but at least have a chance to go back to the Orange Bowl for 2 times in 4 years, which would be a great accomplishment for us. We said we wanted to be relevant when we came back, and this program is relevant now nationally. There's 10 teams that will be playing this weekend in Power 5 championship games, and we're one of those 10 out of 131. So really, really proud of these guys and proud of all they've accomplished. A lot of guys played well on Friday night. Defensively, the guy that played the best was Don Chapman. That's the best game he's played since he's been here, and he did have an opportunity to intercept the ball that he dropped, but he played great. And he had to play more when Cam came out. But he, Jabari Ritzie, Miles Murphy, Kamen Rucker, Howard Eccles, Ced Gray, and freshman Marcus Allen all played really, really well. That front played so well. We helped in a game that a lot of people are talking about toughness all the time. We held NC State to 59 yards rushing. So our rush defense has gotten so much better than it had in the was in the earlier part of the year. Offensively, Josh Downs, Antoine Green, Elijah Green, Kamari Morales, Corey Gaynor, and Austin Richards played really, really well. They had some of their best games. Really, really proud of Corey Gaynor to take on the big nose guard at NC State. He's one of the best in the league and did a tremendous job with him. So proud of Corey and stepping up. Special teams, Marcus Allen again. He played really well throughout the game. DJ Jones and Spencer Triplett. When Drew Little got hurt covering punts, Spencer had the deep snap and short snap and did a really good job of stepping up and helping us. Offensively, we need to get back on track. We did so well earlier in the season, and the things that we had as priorities, we were doing well, and we haven't done as well the last 2 weeks. We're not scoring touchdowns at the same pace in the red zone. We scored 3 touchdowns out of 7. You get a 4th, you win the game. So we've got to go back and just continue to look at that. We're not doing well on first down, so you're too many long yardage plays on third down. We were 5 for 20, and that's just unacceptable. Fourth downs, we were 3 for 3. So still being aggressive and did a good job of getting back on, but we also did a good job protecting. We didn't have many sacks, but we've had too many tackles for loss. And on first down, we're either not gaining yards or losing yards, and then it puts you in second long and third long, and you're not going to do as well in those long yardage situations. Defensively, we've gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. I'm proud of the way the guys are playing. We're allowing less than 10 points per game in the second half of ACC play. We're allowing just over 5 points per game in the fourth quarter of ACC play. So that's a drastic change from earlier in the year. Second quarter's still been tough. We're still giving up points right before the half, which is a critical part of the game, and we got to improve in that area. Don't know why the second quarter hadn't been as good, but defense is much improved. We got to create more negative plays, and we're still not getting any sacks, and we haven't gotten them for 4 years. The only sacks we've gotten have been created by blitzes. We only gave up 6 explosive plays. We kept them to 1 touchdown out of 5 trips into the red zone, which is much better than we've been doing. The 3 of the explosive plays were touchdowns. Storm Duck falls down on the 3rd play of the game. We got beat deep by 1 corner, and then the deep pass over the middle of Cam Kelly pulled his hamstring as he was trying to cover him. So that's really bad luck when you go through it. I've never seen that before. But that's 3 of the touchdowns. And then another touchdown was created by we had a turnover on a short field and gave them a real short field to score, which our defense has to step up and stop them, but we didn't do what we needed to do. Whole second half, really, it was Will Hardy and Marcus Allen, 2 freshmen, and Legend Cavazos playing in the secondary, and they did a good job. I'm really proud of those guys, and most of this team will be back next year, so it bodes really well for the future. You start looking at points off turnovers. Again, they turned the short field into points for them. We had the turnover, and it was a long field, and we didn't, so they got 7 points off turnovers, and we did not. Start looking at Clemson. Dabo's done an unbelievable job. I can relate to the type of success he's had, because at one time we had that at Texas, and if you lose any games, it's like it's a disaster now, because their standard is so high. 160 wins and 38 losses as the head coach at Clemson. Second winningest program since 2015 with 99 wins. He's won 2 national championships. They've appeared in the college football playoff 6 times. They've won 6 straight ACC championships from 2015 to 2020. 7 seasons of at least 11 wins and a chance at an 8th this year, and 4 14-win seasons. So he's just, it's been amazing what he's been able to accomplish, and I'm proud for him and the Clemson program, because they've been the standard in this league. Everybody's trying to get facilities like theirs. Everybody'd love to have a commitment like theirs to football, and everybody'd love to recruit like them, and everybody'd like to win like them. So last year was a little bit of a difference, because we had 2 different teams playing for the conference championship, but everybody in this league is trying to get to the standard that Clemson is, and that's the gold standard. That's what we want. You look at our season in the ACC, every game's come down to the last series except for Pittsburgh. Every game that we've played, whether it was a coastal team or an Atlantic team, and we've won all of them except the last 2, and really they came down to the last play as well. So that's who we are. We're a team. Clemson's the best team in this league, and the rest of us have to coach well and play well down to the last play to win a game. And that's kind of the way college football's gotten, but it's definitely the way, not only the coastal, but the Atlantic too. You look at our game with Wake Forest, came down to the end. That's in the Atlantic. You look at our game with NC State, it came down to a kick. So that's who we are and what we've got. So you just got to win close games to be able to get where we need to go. The next month for college coaches will be the craziest month ever, in my estimation. You've got some of your guys that'll be leaving to go in the transfer portal. You're not sure who they are, and you'll learn Monday, most likely. Some will want to stay and play in the bowl. Some will not want to stay and play in the bowl. You've got some guys that may want to opt out across college football. We had 4 for the Orange Bowl 2 years ago. So that can happen. You're not sure about who you'll have for your bowl game, regardless of where you play. And then Monday morning, people can start getting into the transfer portal. And who knows? It'll be record numbers. It'll be the most ever. When you have some guys that aren't playing enough here that leave, you've got to try to replace them with some starters. You're starting looking at recruiting now as compared to transfer portal. Who you get in the transfer portal, those guys will be more ready to play immediately than high school players. So I really worry about in the future high school recruiting not being as important as transfer portal recruiting. It's just the way it is, and it's a concern, but it's real and it's out there. So roster management's a disaster. You're trying to figure out how many you got on your team and who can come in, and you got to wait till Monday when you see how many are going to leave before you can figure out how many you can sign. A lot of new ground for college coaches starting on Monday for the next month. Questions?
When you look at the last 2 weeks, losing close games that you were previously winning, what is the first thing that stands out to why you guys were unable to pull those games out?
We haven't played as well on offense. We're playing at a really high level on offense, and we've had too many misses on third down. We've punted more than we've punted since we've been here probably, and we haven't scored as many touchdowns in the red zone. Those would be the 2 things I would say is the difference in the game. Defense has gotten better, and offense hasn't produced as well as we did in the previous games.
To expand on that, going back to the Wake Forest game, the last 32 possessions, you guys have 6 touchdowns. What's the problem there? What is not working right now that maybe was working before?
We're not as consistent. It sounds like coach speak, but it's facts. So we've played good defenses. Georgia Tech and Georgia were 13-7 at halftime, and Georgia Tech drops a snap on a punt and turns the ball over the next series, and gets too far behind to catch up. But they've done a good job on defense throughout the year, and then NC State's one of the best defenses in the country. So I think you got to give the other team some credit too.
How do you balance out for moving on, for getting these 2 losses and the slate being clean and it all comes down to one game and the title game, to taking lessons from the last 2 games and kind of looking back at, okay, what can we do better?
Yeah. If you go back to 2 games ago, it was down to a catch. If you go back to last week's game, it was down to a kick. I mean, we say we need to get better on offense. What we scored 27 points. I mean, that's a lot of people would like that. The thing I would say is that, me included, if you'd ask a North Carolina fan or me in August, would you take 9 wins and a chance to play Clemson for the conference championship? We'd be so excited. It's funny, we have the same record as Florida State, but they won a couple at the end. We lost a couple at the end, so everybody's so high on Florida State, people get down on us. Look at the facts. Facts are this is one of the best seasons in our school history, and we're playing for the conference championship for the 2nd time ever. That's pretty cool. So I'm not going to let a player or 2 get me down.
So then is it fair then that it's just forget about the last 2 games, focus on them now, and that all attention is on this game? It doesn't really matter what happened in the past?
It's fair that you don't ever forget about a loss. We forget about wins. That's facts, coaches included. But it's also fair to not sit around and pout because there's only 2 teams in this league that are playing for the conference championship. We're one of them, and that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna be proud of this team. I'm not gonna beat them up.
Sorry. You talked about kind of maturity going into the Georgia Tech game and being concerned maybe that the team was looking ahead. Did you see any of that the last 2 weeks, kind of looking ahead to the ACC title game?
No, NC State's got a really good team, and they've got a great defense, and it's a very emotional game. We came down to where we missed a kick. I mean, I thought we played hard. That was a great game. I love the crowd. I love the fact it was full and emotional, and people saw a great game. So that's it. Georgia Tech, I didn't think we played as sharp on offense, more like Virginia. Defensively, we've played as hard as we can the last 2 weeks and getting better. You hold somebody to 21 points, our offense should score more than that.
You mentioned only basically getting sacks when you guys blitz, but you don't blitz a lot, and Gene has told us in the past that part of that's maybe confidence with the corners. So where are you guys right now as a defense program defensively with blitzing, and how that relates to the trust you have in the corners?
We blitz more than people think. After midseason, we had to get more pressure. We got to just play better, got to coach better and play better in those positions. I mean, if you can't cover, you can't get there without covering. It's an easy question. It's a hard fix.
The blitz numbers have picked up. Why have the blitz numbers picked up? Because it's a need, because you have to get more pressure that way, or is there
Yes.
something that you said, okay, this part of the defense is a little bit better now, so we can blitz?
At one point, we weren't stopping anything. We weren't stopping the run or the pass, and we weren't getting any pressure on the quarterback. So I said, stop something. I mean, come on, man. Let's stop a run. If you have to put all of them on if they're going to beat us, make them beat us throwing, but don't let them beat us doing both. That way we don't get the ball back. They keep the ball, they rush for 250 yards, and they throw for 250 yards, and we're just standing there getting beat. So change something. Don't just keep doing what you're doing, and they've done that. They've done a much better job stopping the run here lately. So I'm proud of that. And now we've got to play better in the secondary, and really and truly, there's 6 explosives, and 3 of them were touchdowns, and 2 of them were really unique. Guy falls down. It's our best corner probably, and another guy pulls a hamstring on a deep throw. I mean, we can tell him to stay up, and we can tell him not to get hurt. Other than that, I don't know what you do.
Mack, what is the biggest, when you look at Clemson, the biggest concern you have when you look at them as a team, offense and defense?
Well, they've got the best group of defensive players in the country. I mean, they're front line and linebackers are just draft choices. That's you look at them, you look at Georgia, and you see 2 of the best defensive teams in the country. That's just who they are. They've recruited that well. And then their secondary has been young and banged up some like ours, but they're playing much better. Offensively, the quarterback has come back and lost a bunch of weight. He is a load. He is so hard to tackle. And Will Shipley, which we knew in high school, is one of the best running backs in the country. And they've always got great skill outside, and they're tall, so they can throw the ball up outside. So they're a handful with everything they do. They're well coached, they're confident, they expect to win, they're deep, and people have not been able to run the ball at all. And then it's hard to pass protect. I looked at their number of sacks, and talking about us not having many, they got a bunch of sacks and a bunch of pressures and a bunch of tackles for loss, and that's just who they are.
Does it make it easier having just gone up against guys like Drake Thomas and Hayden Wilson to go into another team with an electric defense like that?
Yeah, you know, the Georgia Tech had some really good defensive front players. Pittsburgh's got some of the best in the country. So we're used to that here lately, and a bunch of people are pressuring us. So I think we won't be in shock with whoever we play. Yes.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the Clemson defense, but you also said the offense, isn't being as consistent as it used to be. So what's the key to getting back to like the App State game where the offense could every time you put them on the field score a touchdown?
God, I wish I could answer that for you. We're staying over here till about midnight every night trying to figure that out. We've got one of the things I think we haven't done as well is we haven't been as patient. And people are really backing off and trying to make us throw short. And we had 8 explosive plays, which is not what we normally have. And they just played way off of us, and we've got to make sure that we're being patient and taking what they give us. And to do that, you got to catch the ball, and you got to make yards after catch. But patience would be the thing I would say that we haven't done as well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then going off of that, Bank of America Stadium, y'all played the Duke's Mayo Bowl there last year. How do you use the lessons learned from the Mayo Bowl to help y'all in the ACC Championship on Saturday?
We try to use the lessons learned in the opening game I had here when we beat South Carolina 28-24. The stadium has nothing to do with it. It's the bunch that they roll in there. And South Carolina was more ready to play than we were last year. They did a better job coaching, and hopefully we'll do a better job coaching this Saturday.
You mentioned the transfer portal, and last year the ACC lost, one of the best receivers in the country, one of the best running backs, went to Alabama from Georgia Tech. Are you at all concerned with the disparity maybe in some of these collectives and NIL when it comes to things like the transfer portal? How do you make sure you hold on to all your guys?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest concerns I've got for college football. I hate the fact that people tamper with people on certain teams, and I hate the fact that kids are just being absolutely bought off campuses. And I don't know how you stop it. You know, you say you can't have tampering. Well, it's usually a third party. It's a high school coach. It's a friend. It's somebody on your team. It's a friend. And we had guys that people tried to buy off our team last year. They just stayed here. But that's absolutely happening across the country, and I'm sure it's happening this week, preparing for next week. And I hate it, and I don't know what you can do about it. It's affecting recruiting is one thing, but when people are actually being bought off college teams, people are being chosen off of FCS teams. You see somebody you like anymore on TV, somebody calls them and tells them, you want to come, we got a scholarship for you. So it's hurt FCS ball, it's hurting college football, and that's the one thing. I like the kids getting money. I think it's good that a guy can transfer, he's a backup and he's got a chance to play somewhere else. I got that. I really don't like the fact that some people are just buying people off campuses.
You guys have a collective here. Do you feel like you're well positioned to compete in what is the new reality of college football?
Everybody is looking at collectives across the country, and right now we're not in a position to compete with the ones that are spending a whole lot of money.
Going back to the football side of things, it seems like you and Duke, between Riley Leonard and Drake May, you guys have two of the top quarterbacks in the ACC, especially now that Sam Hartman's going to be leaving. How does that make you feel knowing that, you know, two of the best quarterbacks in the entire conference are just 45 minutes apart from each other and they'll be here for the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't know that we're 45 minutes apart.
Oh, I'm 15 minutes.
I was thinking that you need a GPS. Mine takes me on a different route to Durham than that, but that's okay. We're there.
I'm just a slow driver.
You're real slow. Remind me, I'm not riding with you. We'll go somewhere. Let me say first, I am so proud of Sam Hartman. What a tough competitor. I didn't see him after our game, and I texted him and told him he has such a great career. He's leaving now. We don't play him next year. We've played him every year he's been there, and he's just he's tough. He's overcome so much in his life at home, losing a brother, and then he has the injury, the medical issue to start the year, and most people would think you'd be through. And he is a tough competitor, man. He comes back and plays great and breaks a whole bunch of records. So yes, he's done an amazing job at Wake Forest. But you start looking at our guy and Duke's guy, they're really good. And they're fun to watch, and it's going to be a great game for the next couple of years with those guys because they make a difference. You know, in modern day college football, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to compete at a high level. And if you do, you got a chance every week. And that's what these two guys do. Everybody's talked about Mike Elko's done an amazing job at Duke, and they've changed. They had good receivers. They had good running backs. They had good skill. But they didn't have consistent quarterback play. And that guy has done amazing things. And he's as good with his legs as he is throwing the ball. So I'm really, really impressed with Riley. He's just done, I think he's changed that program completely.
Going back to the collective, how far away are you guys from being where you maybe need to be to compete with some of the other big spenders?
I think except for the ones you read about, every time you look at a 5-star now, just look at the 5 places he's visiting. And that shows you the separation. It's totally changed recruiting. We've still got to look for the guys in our footprint that want to come to North Carolina for academics.
Is that partly why recruiting's changed a little bit this past year for you?
Recruiting's changed completely. I mean, completely.
So, to stay on that, how far away are you, and what does it take, what do you need in order to get to the point where you can compete in that respect?
Some people have just openly said, we need $10 million. And not many people are in that ballpark. So, it's just what it is.
So you need $10 million?
You know, when Ryan Day comes out and says we need $13 million to keep our roster each year, we're not in that ballpark.
Are you worried? I mean, your team obviously has guys who are stars and have some eligibility remaining. Are you worried about them being contacted and saying, hey, come over here?
Yeah, what I've learned is that I've got to control what I can control. And if somebody's going to give a kid $1 million to go play college football somewhere else and he wants to do it, how can I tell him to stay? I mean, that's just what it is. So hopefully we'll have enough guys here that want to stay here and play and go to the university and still play conventional college football for the reasons you play. And it's the same thing in recruiting. If a parent walks in and the first thing they say is, let me talk to you about the collective, I know we're in trouble. If they say, I love the university and the school academically is so good and can't wait till our academic visit, I can stay in the conversation. But it's just, it's totally changed everything. Yes?
Yeah, for John Johnson, WXII.
Hey, John.
Your staff's been in big games coming into Saturday. You yourself have coached in championship games. For the roster, this will be a whole new experience in a lot of ways for them. How do you prepare them for the moment when that moment arrives on Saturday?
It's a great question. This one's a whole lot like an away game. We'll go down on Friday. We'll have our routine that we have on Friday night for a night game. We'll have our all-day Saturday routine for a Saturday night game at 8. We've played in some of those. So that part of it I don't think will change. The unique part is who gets to travel, how many, who can be on the sideline if they're not traveling, all those things. Clemson's got this down pretty good. We don't. So Woody McCorvey is he's in charge of football with Dabo at Clemson. He's one of my best friends. So we'll call Clemson this week and say, how do you do this? What do you do this? How about injured players? Who travels? Who's on the sideline? So we can be a lot like them with what they're doing because they have experience in this area and we don't. But as far as the game, it should be a great game. It's a great challenge for us. Like I said, they've had the best recruiting classes in the country. There's a whole bunch of guys on their team that we've recruited. There aren't many on our team that they've recruited. So it's just what it is.
Mack, you guys gave up, I think, 6 sacks against Georgia Tech, only 2 last week. How do you feel about where pass protection is at this point in the season, especially considering the talent they have up front?
Yeah, the pass protection's been really good for the year. And in some cases, we've held the ball too long. We've had a back go the wrong way. It's one of the problems with young backs. That's why they haven't played as much. People have blitzed us so much here at the end that you got to have experienced backs in there to pick up the blitz. Sometimes it's a tight end. But the offensive line, I'm really proud of this year. They've done a great job. And I think a number of those guys may come back, so that could really help us for next year.
But as far as their front, though, I mean, with the talent they have up front,
They've
not like you feel like it's kind of the challenges you've been dealing with all year?
Yeah, they've sacked everybody. I mean, they have. It's just, they just grab them, throw them down, and go get them. So we'll have to play our best to have a chance to win.
Given that the regular
How has
season,
Drake
go ahead.
May kind of handled the last couple of weeks? I mean, to this point, it's been all praise, Heisman talk for him, all this chatter, and in the last 2 weeks, there's been the offensive kind of drop off, if you will, really kind of the first bits of adversity for him in his career.
Yeah, he's such a competitor, and he wants to win. And when we don't play well offensively, a lot of people go back to the quarterback. When we do, it's him too. So, but he's learning how to handle that, and he'll compete hard to win on Saturday. I mean, that's just who he is.
Given that the 12 regular season's in the books now, is this week an opportunity to maybe get a little bit of a mental refresh for the guys, because those 12 are in the books and you can achieve something extremely tangible this week? So is it easier for them to disconnect from especially how things closed out?
Yes, I think so. I told him yesterday that I talked to him about you can't live off yesterday, win or lose. You got to grow up, you got to mature, and you got to move to the next day. And don't let anybody talk to you about bad things right now. This is one of the best years in this school history, and still a lot out there to play for. So, and I have to be the front of that. So I told him I am so proud of them. and more to play, more to do. 9 wins with 2 games left. A chance to win a championship, which we haven't done but once since 1980. There's so many things on this table that are really cool. I am not going to allow anybody to beat these kids down.
Mack, do you think,
But first time I'm back here.
So you said you go back and watch the games. I don't know if you went back and watched the state game on television, but there were some comments that Coach Doran made to the announcers there that got talked about on the TV. I don't have them right in front of me, but you obviously heard them. I just wanted your reaction to what Coach said.
I never talk about what the other coach says. I've got great respect for NC State and what they've done. Dave's done a good job there. And, I talk about our team.
Mack, do you think so last year you talked about how the team struggled with their ranking, their expectation. 3 weeks ago, you were talking about there's coastal champs possibly sneaking into the playoff, Heisman talk and all that. Did the last 2 weeks, the Georgia Tech and NC State game, make this game more pressure filled for your team or less, given the losses there and sort of the expectations that you had back then are now out of it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tommy. I don't think about all that stuff. I think in the moment that I don't feel pressure for Saturday. I feel excitement. I feel a fun challenge ahead. I'm really, really proud that 3 and some years ago, we had 2 wins and hadn't been to a bowl game in a while, and had 5 wins in 2 years. And now here we are sitting to play for a conference championship. That's a lot of progress in 4 years. And I'm really, really proud of that. So anybody that's not, I'm not going to talk to.
So there's no thought of, wow, we left some meat on that bone.
No, because I think if we were good enough, we would have. So that's what I told the players. I said, if you were good enough to be a playoff team, then maybe you'd beat Notre Dame, but you sure would have beaten the last 2 teams, and you didn't, so you're not good enough. So that's it. You're good enough to play for a conference championship, and that's one of 2 teams in this league, and that's really cool. And I'm proud of that. But you're not good enough to be a playoff team, or you would be. And that when I say that to the team, I say that to the coaches as well. We as coaches and you as a team in this room, we're not good enough to win 2 games, to be 11-1, playing for a conference championship to try to get in the playoffs. So let's don't sit and say, God, if we weren't good enough. We didn't. So we're close. We're probably 2 plays away from being 11-1, and that doesn't matter. We didn't do it. We didn't accomplish it. So, and that's what I do. I don't get into the, oh my gosh, I wish. I get into facts. The facts are we weren't good enough, and we're not going to be in the playoff, period. Now, can we win a conference championship? It's going to be hard, but yes. Can we go to the Orange Bowl? Yes. I think we'd have taken both those early season. And to do that, we got to win 10 games. We'd been proud of that because that hadn't happened very often either. So we got to keep reality here. When you start getting out of reality and into emotion, I don't do that. I get into facts.
The defensive line is one place you guys have recruited really, really well. But as you mentioned, you just haven't been able to generate that pass rush from those guys. Is there something? Is that development? Is that scheme? Is that coaching? What do you look at when you say we're getting the players we want on the defensive line?
Probably a little of everything. We've lost a full defensive line of starters to injury. That didn't help us. We're having guys that have to play more than we would have liked for them to play, and they didn't early in the season. Losing Noah Taylor really hurt us. Losing Des Evans, he was really coming into his own and playing much better. That hurt us. Tamari Fox was one of the best pass rushers we got. He's quick and he penetrates, and he didn't get to play this year. So losing guys like that is really set us back.
Mack, I'm not sure where you are in the prep process for the week, but South Carolina, obviously, getting rid of some demons and being Clemson. Have you laid a blueprint as to how to attack the Clemson team and anything you saw?
I don't think so. South Carolina had 2 great games. They're a 6-win team 2 weeks ago, and everybody thought they'd be a 6-win team at the end of the year, and they beat top-ranked Tennessee, and they beat top-ranked Clemson. So They just played really, really good in both those games. And I think when everybody saw them beat Tennessee, they said, well, Tennessee is probably flat. It didn't happen. And then they come in and play great against Clemson. And to their credit, Clemson was ahead the whole game, and they stripped the ball loose late in the game to win the game. So they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. Shane's done a good job, and they finished their season strong. And it's funny that they've won 8 games, we've won 9, and everybody's more excited about them than they are us. That's just, you got to look at facts. What has happened lately to excite me? That's kind of where we are in our life.
That's the shiny new nickel.
How much do you sense the reaction from the fans over the last couple of weeks? And do you see it as a positive in the sense that, and I think I've talked to you about this before, that when it gets to the point of anger and hurt, then it shows that you're doing something right because the losses actually mean more than when there's apathy and it's kind of expected?
Yeah, I look at how the fans support. I don't get on the internet. Like I said, those guys usually aren't very happy when they're on the internet. I learned that in Texas. But I see the reaction of the fans. We had a great crowd at Georgia Tech. We lose the game, they come right back on Thanksgiving. We have one of the best crowds I've ever seen here for NC State. They stayed, they fought, they pulled hard. I don't interact with fans. You know, I'm over here at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I leave here at 6 o'clock at night. That's just kind of what happens in my life, and I don't go shopping, and I don't go to the grocery store, and I don't go out, so I don't see anybody. I see you all here on Monday, and that's about it. So I don't hear fans, but I think, again, if you look at a fan that wants to be mad, I can't keep him happy. I'm trying.
But do you think that when there's apathy, a team loses like, well, they expect it, and there's not the high degree of anger? When there is anger and there's hurt, it means you're actually doing something right because the expectations were higher.
Yeah, it's good. The word anger to me is like when you're trying to beat somebody up in an alley. I don't feel like I'm going to get jumped.
There was a lot of anger.
So, yeah, well, a lot of anger in your world. You live in a world of anger. You really do.
I really do.
Every day, your little world, as I get on my internet, and you're so excited when there's anger because that means a lot of people are on there and interested, and it stirs it up, but you live that world. I don't live that world.
We should switch for a week.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't, because my life's much better than that, because I get to go into a bunch of kids and pick them up that played their guts out, that lost, and they're down, and you get to go home and be miserable with all those miserable people on your internet. So that's, thank God.
My job is to pull them from the ledge, and then when they're really excited, my job is to push them toward the ledge. So
Yeah, well, and if we win Saturday, which people will not give us any chance to, but if we won Saturday, then some of those that say, God, I can't believe they lost those 2 games, we'd be in the playoffs. So they're going to be miserable anyway. I mean,
there is an element that always is.
That is. Miserable's miserable. I'm not a miserable person. I don't live in that world. Thank God.
Yeah.
I don't live in that world. But if getting angry and my world's coming to an end because of a football game, it's probably need to reevaluate
It's an amazing thing.
some points of their life. I think that would be the suggestion, that I would get some counseling, spend time with your children. But yes, from the apathy that we had when we walked in here and nobody in the stands, to that first game we won against South Carolina and the second game we won against Miami till now, our fans have been absolutely unbelievable. So I'm not going to worry about the ones that are on your site being angry. I hope they do better. I hope we can pick them up.
It has changed, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, good for you. You should be happy that we've won and lost, because you get to sell a lot more subscriptions.
Well,
So
I would like to think it works out that way, but
What about the momentum in college sports? I mean, you're 9-1, you've got a ton of it. Now you don't. As coaches, how do you sort of recapture that? I know you say build them up and all that, but is it that easy? Clemson's in the same boat, losing to South Carolina. So how do you build your team back up when young players and young people tend to be in the moment, like we're talking about, and don't look to the past, they look what just happened?
Yeah, I've told them, if you read all the great things people put on the internet about you, then you're going to feel really, really bad about all the bad things they say. And probably you're not as good as all the great things they say, and you're not near as bad as all the bad things they say. So I said, you've got to be mature enough to handle that, because a lot of kids get depressed, and not just sports. They get depressed over bullying and things on the internet. And I said, I don't listen to people I don't know. That's been a philosophy I picked up early at Texas from Mr. Joe Jamel, a lawyer. He said, only talk to people that you know, that you have respect for, that know you well enough that they can give you suggestions. And then if they give you a harsh suggestion, you should listen. If somebody you've never met is talking about you, whether it's media or whether it's a person, why would you care? They don't know you. So why would their opinion matter to you? And it really doesn't. So it's just the way I've done my life. But for kids, our kids are excited. We say we have no momentum. We got 9 games worth of momentum and a chance to play in the conference championship game. That has happened once since 2012 here. We are excited. This is fun. So I can't wait. And our kids are the same way. They were chirping last night at dinner and disappointed in the loss, but if you tell them every day that there's a 24-hour rule and you have to move on, one great thing about fans, which is hard for them, and I love our fans, but they don't have a 24-hour rule. They can be miserable all week. We can't. We got to go back to work. You start watching Clemson on video, that'll wake you up. That'll make you quit worrying about everything else.
Do you like ending the season with NC State, or would you prefer that last game be against Duke or somebody else?
I don't care. I like winning all the games. I don't have anything to do with scheduling. I was one of the 3 that voted to keep divisions. So, and nobody cared. Nobody wanted it. So I couldn't even keep the conference divisions. I sure can't control our schedule. And we played Duke here before, and it was great. We play State now, and it's great. So it's a lot of excitement at the end. I do think with all the changes, there'll be more. If there's realignment, there'll be more changes with rivalries. And if, like the SEC and some of the other conferences do what we're doing, and like the Big 12 is doing, and do away with divisions, that could affect rivalries. So people are going to have to look at that. I know Texas and Arkansas used to be a huge rivalry. Texas and Texas A&M. Does it go back now, since they're both in the SEC, to Thanksgiving? Or Friday, like our game's been with NC State? Does Oklahoma and Nebraska, that used to be huge in our lives, and we don't have that anymore. Oklahoma or Nebraska and Colorado. So a lot of these things, do we ever see a Michigan and Ohio State change because of leagues? I don't know. We're all looking at a whole lot of changes here in college football moving forward.
Right, if they do away with divisions, they could play back-to-back weeks.
They could. And that actually, you would look at it. I think that the Big 12 even did this earlier. They moved the Oklahoma State and Oklahoma game when they were both really good in the Big 12. They moved the Oklahoma State game up into the season so you wouldn't have back-to-back games if both of them won, because both of them were doing well. So that's something else we'll all have to consider. If us and NC State become the 2 best teams in this league, do you want to play the last game and the next week? Those are all things people have to consider moving forward. And for us, we play Clemson at Clemson next year. So that's a game that's scheduled with the new schedule. So we might as well start now. See what we got. Anything else? Thank you, folks, and I'll see you Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.